welcome back to my channel. It is gloomy outside, but most importantly right now I just need to let you guys know that we have made it to the end of my trying times right now, and by that I mean the fact that my hair is not done because my hair appointment is this week. Yes man, I popped some press-ons on, toes are done, and you know, I feel myself coming back. Once I just need the hair done, gonna be a whole new person out here, a whole new me. But while I get prepared for that, for my comeback to the internet, right? Like I said in one of my other videos, beauty news lately is keeping me afloat during these times because I feel like every day I wake up, I pick up my phone, I log on to TikTok, and something new is going on. So if you guys see the title, you wanna know what's going on, let's go. Okay, so if you guys don't remember, it was last year, right? I believe it was sometime earlier last year, maybe mid last year. There was a makeup brand that came under fire because they launched a foundation and one of the shades was like straight up black. If you're like, do you mean like it was just really dark? I mean, no. People looked into it. People looked into the formulation of the product and realized that it was quite literally the color black. You know what it takes to make the crayon black, Crayola black? It was that, but just in a foundation bottle. And as you could imagine, that did not go over well. Like nothing about it went over well. The explanation, the, trying to fix it up after the outrage came out. So this is the foundation that Euphoria released. And in pictures, when you're looking at swatches and stuff like that online, it appears like it looks like the other deeper complexion foundations that are on the market, right? But then people started to receive it, people started putting it on. And here are pictures of some of the deepest influencers that we have to go to when it comes to testing out products for deeper complexions. And you see how it looks straight up black on their face. Like these are some of the women who are the 490s of Fenty, right? I'm trying to think of other shade range numbers, but like the deepest of NARS foundations, the deepest of NWs with MAC, they are the go-tos, and it is much deeper than they are, right? Now, of course, because it's the internet and people love to gaslight, and people also like to make any and every type of excuse for brands, which we'll also circle back to later on in the video. Here come the people. Well, there are actually people who exist that need that shade. There are actually people who exist that are the ones begging for them to make out those foundations. Y'all are invalidating those people. Y'all are saying that people like that don't exist. Show them. Here we are a year later. Show us one person that foundation shade matched to. There was one, I believe she did like a sponsored video or something like that for Euphoria, and it didn't even her in the video said that it's not her shade. Here we are a year later. Show us the one person, I'm just asking for one, that matched to that foundation shade. Please and thank you. You know why you can't? Because everyone walking this planet has undertones. No one walking this planet is a flat color, is the same type of flat color as a crayon. That's why you're not going to, because that's what it is. Again, a chemist looked into the actual formulation of the foundation, and it was simply the color black. So when trying to gaslight and make people seem like they're crazy for pointing out that it's very lazy to launch this, I swear it's so easy to be. And the fact that it was a bunch of black people, black women, and see, that's what I be talking about. Y'all don't understand skin tone, but y'all be the loudest to talk about skin tone. And when you don't understand it, that's why y'all come out and y'all start invalidating actual dark-skinned women when they talk about certain things. Because y'all, I've had people tell me that I'm not dark skinned. Like I posted videos where I said, like lip liner for dark skin, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And I'll get comments saying, you're not dark skinned. And I'm like, and see, now it makes sense. Y'all think that there are black people walking around who are straight up black. So of course you don't understand how the scale works and what actual dark skin looks like. But no, that there's not. And mind you, it went so far that I made a TikTok using some of the examples that people like, oh, this would work for you know, Lupita, this would work for the name, insert this person. So I went and I found those people. And you know what's, but you can find the makeup shades that those people use, right? So I posted this video on TikTok and they were like, oh, you know, here's this girl and she could use that foundation. So I went to go look what her foundation shade would be in Fenty or stuff like that. And yeah, also y'all do realize that, especially in the fashion world, stuff like that, a lot of dark skinned models are edited to be even darker when you're seeing them in magazines and commercials, stuff like that, blah, 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 because they're playing on that aesthetic, right? The whole, oh, she looks pitch black, that is part of the creativity, if that's the word you want to use for that. That is part of the editing for that campaign. Like, that's why they'll look that way in the magazine, but then you see them doing, you know, a video on YouTube and you can tell that, yes, they are a dark-skinned woman, but they are not. They just flew past my window, but they are not pitch black. Nobody is. So once we got past the playing in people's faces, acting like what we were seeing is not what we were seeing and it was not a problem, now it's time to do damage control, right? And here's the thing, there wasn't much damage control done, because it's like they acknowledged it but also tried to make it seem like, you know, effort was put in there and they just got it wrong. And actually no, effort was not put in there. And mind you, since this was like a year ago, I don't recall, but wasn't it like they extended the shade range or something like that? Like they had come out with the foundation and there weren't enough deeper shades, so people were like, can we have some deeper shades? And then they put out that shade and people kind of took it as they said, well, here, damn, you wanted shade so bad, you wanted deeper shade so bad, go ahead and take this one and just straight up through black. Let me know if I'm incorrect on that one, but I could have sworn that's what happened. But they came out and tried to say like, oh, we flew all over the world and, you know, we used so many people. They even used 2 men as examples. Like they found the men, and again, in the videos, the men are dark skinned, but they're not, again, pitch black. The foundation wouldn't have even matched them. So even they showed that they were unable to find someone that would match this foundation shade. So why would you release it? This is the owner, Fiona Kochan. And if you guys did not know, she was featured on Shark Tank. I believe the lip bar was also on Shark Tank. If you don't know, they go on there, they propose their business ideas, and then they will get some of the sharks to hopefully invest in their business, right? So she's successfully secured an investment from Mark Cuban for $400,000. And while we're talking about this, talking about being able to receive an investment like that as a minority-owned business owner, I'm kind of wondering, that guy on LinkedIn, are you gonna make another post? Does her flopping, being a small business and getting investment, does that make you feel some type of way about your business not also getting investments? But that's shade for another day. She spoke out when this happened. It also did not help. A lot of people I saw took her addressing it as disingenuous, like something about it just gave, I know what I was doing when I posted this, but, and I talk about that sometimes when I talk about PR and business, and, you know, when you are a customer facing owner, like people can easily find you, you're very talkative on social media, stuff like that, how it can go wrong in your favor. It can go not in your favor, because if people don't like you, if people don't feel that you're genuine, stuff like that, even if you are being genuine, right, it can hurt your business, because once people don't like the owner, it's kind of a wrap. It's a wrap for the, it's not funny, but it's a wrap. So she came out, she tried to explain it. It didn't really work in her favor, and the brand just kind of fell off after that. I didn't really see, you know, brands try to come back after having scandals like that. You know, usually you just pay the right influencers, take a little time, and you can like slowly build your way back, right? But I never really saw anything about them again. Like, I have not heard anything that they might have possibly launched since then. If they did try to fix, like you guys saw the whole tier foundation thing, the cushion foundation, they didn't have enough shades. People started talking about it. They came out, like I saw post about them, coming out and bringing more shades. And I've seen posts about tier since then. So it is very possible for brands to do that. I have not heard a single thing about Youthforia ever since then. And I pointed out at the time when I made the video that this was one of those times where, even though there were the gaslighters, because there's always going to be bootlickers, right? Even though there was that, this was one of the times where it was one of those beauty scandals where it got outside of just deeper complexions talking about it, right? Because a lot of the times when people are complaining about a launch, stuff like that, it is the people who are most affected by it that are talking about it, right? And that's why it kind of gets, dulled down after a bit, because if a majority of the people who have the shades and stuff like that are talking about how great it is and they have a shade for them and stuff like that, yeah, of course, you're not going to get much traction if it's the smaller end who are the only ones talking. Baby, no, everybody jumped on this to talk about it. Everybody was calling them out. I'm seeing Ulta employees of all skin tones, all background, stuff like that, in the Ulta store swatching it to show what it looks like. That was old school YouTube beauty scandal days with that one. Bigger platform creators were talking about it, all of that, and all of that also did not help them, because if you made a stance like that, so bold, like, I'm gonna call this brand out, I don't want to hear it, the lame excuse that you come out with afterwards, stuff like that, it's hard for those creators to then turn around and be the creators that are going to help the brand bounce back from that. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't go that hard on calling them out and, all the videos and the dissecting stuff like that, and then turn around and be the creator that's going to say, oh, well, they came out with a new launch, or they extended the shade ranges, so I'm gonna, test it out and give them a little grace. Like, nah. A lot of people drew their line in the sand with that, and that is why you haven't heard much about them since it happened a year ago. So imagine my surprise when I am well, I guess I really shouldn't be surprised then, but imagine my surprise when I am scrolling today and I see a TikTok announcing that Youthforia is closing down. So I scurry on over to Instagram. I go to their page, and their latest post says, "We're closing Youthforia. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your wonderful support over the past few years." I believe the brand has been open for 4 years or something like that. It's been a dream to create such a beautiful brand, but unfortunately, I've made the hard decision to shut down Youthforia. I look back at these past few years with such love and appreciation. Thank you for being part of that journey, and I appreciate it so much. That being said, we're doing our final closing out sale. Everything is 50% off, no code needed, all sales are final. Please share with your friends and family. Thank you so much, Fiona, founder of Youthforia. And I find it funny that I pointed out how people, kind of spoke about how when the owner speaks, it just comes across as disingenuous. It comes across very cold. I saw people making comments about this announcement of the brand closing, and they were talking about how even this announcement gives cold. Like, it just gives very, okay, here, damn. Like, okay, I'm closing. You guys got what you wanted type thing. Like, throwing it out there and then just kind of going about your business. It's like a lot of the backlash that the brand got was the fact that it just gives very half-assed and very not much thought is being put into this, not much care. It's kind of like I'm running a business because I can own a business. I'm running the business because I do have the investment to run a business. Like, I feel like sometimes you can tell when someone is like very passionate about their brand. Like, you cannot say anything out of pocket about their brand. They are going to go very hard to make sure that there's no complaints that someone can have. And even when someone does go that hard for their brand, there's always going to be people who complain. But you guys know what I'm talking about. So there are people who are like, even this announcement seems kind of cold. So, bye. Thanks for announcing it, but no one was checking for it anyway, right? What I found weird is I was reading the comments on the announcement that the brand is closing down, and I see comments like I'm so sad that, you guys have to close down because people just won't allow any type of grace for people to mess up. This is the problem with cancel culture. It ruins great businesses. I saw one, it said, "I'm so sorry, girl. Your brand didn't deserve all of this hate. We are human and make mistakes every single second of our lives, but people are hypocrites. Anyways, hope you guys can heal and move forward from this." Oh, this is what happens when biased influencers review a brand. Love you, Euphoria. Didn't even spell the brand name correctly. This is what happens when biased influencers review a brand. And I've said this before, baby, which one is it? Because let y'all tell it, influencers are not important. Y'all hate the fact that brands use influencers. No one is making their decisions on whether or not they should buy from a brand based off influencers, so there's no reason for them to be making these outrageous amounts of money on sponsorships. But as soon as something goes wrong, as soon as a brand falls off, as soon as a brand has to close down, it's influencers' fault that they didn't talk about the brand enough to keep the brand in business, or they talked about the brand in a wrong way, and that's why the brand has to shut. Which one is it? Do they have the influence to keep a brand afloat or not? And then talking about this is what happens when you're not given grace. Cancel culture, influencers review you with bias. Are y'all aware you're not entitled to people's money? Y'all know that, right? You're not doing consumers a favor by being in business. That's how y'all be talking sometimes with the way that, like, I saw a post the other day. I guess Chris Brown fans were complaining that he has statues blocking people's views at his concert. So he gonna make a post talking about some be humble, he's working on it, stuff like that, da 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 da. Now I have seen some people saying the be humble part was people complaining about his set list and not him having a part of the show that obstructs the view of people that are paying to see it. But even if it was people who were complaining about his set list, if it's the people who are, again, paying to go to the concert, they're entitled to complain if the set list isn't what, they wanted. It wasn't what they expected. They're allowed to complain about that. Telling them to be humble is crazy. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there is a TikToker who is a food reviewer, like a restaurant reviewer. A restaurant reached out to her and they asked her to come review the restaurant, right? And then she got there, and when she got there, the owner was very rude, like very cruel, telling her like she only has like 15,000 followers. That's not really, worth it to him because he has a daughter who's an influencer. And it was like, okay, you could have just had your daughter review the restaurant if you feel that way. But he was very belittling. He spoke down to her in the restaurant and she left crying, right? So the video went viral. I'm talking viral. Now you talking about something. You only have 15,000 followers. You can't do much for me, baby. The 28 million views that she got on that video did a little something to your business, right? Because the business has shut down. Now the business has shut down, I believe, for like renovation and stuff like that. But as you could imagine, 28 million views, and they're on her side. Now 28 million views, if the views are not on your side, that's something to worry about. But 28 million views, and the comments are calling the restaurant out. They're leaving reviews. They're talking about how, I'm never going to go to this restaurant. She is entitled to do that because you are a business. You are opening yourself up for a response, a reaction to how you treat the customers. So I'm seeing in the comments after they announced that, they're shutting down to like regroup and rebrand and fix what's gone wrong. I'm seeing in the comments people talking about that's terrible that you guys did this to a small business. This is what's wrong with cancel culture. And again, I say the same thing. You're not entitled to have people come eat at your restaurant. You're not entitled to have people come to your concert. So if you do something that upsets the customer, if you do something, people are allowed to decide that they no longer want to give you their money, they no longer want to support you, and other people who never gave you their money before, they didn't even know you existed beforehand, those people are also allowed to now say, you know what, after seeing how you treated that person, after seeing how you handled this situation, I also am not going to give you my support, I'm not going to give you my business. They're allowed to say that. Y'all talking about something, oh, it's a small business though. It's a woman-owned business. Okay. And they still messed up. Now, do I think every situation calls for a brand to have to shut down or, a singular entertainer or athlete, whoever, blah, 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 to be canceled, which we all know cancel culture doesn't really exist. But do I think that, every situation calls for harsh reactions, harsh responses? No. And I've said that before, which is why I, as an individual, decide for myself, if I'm not going to, purchase this brand, I'm not going to listen to this music anymore. And it's not my job to convince other people of that. I can talk about the situation. I can say why I no longer want to support this or why I would never XYZ, but it's not my job to go tell other people, oh, you need to do this, you need to not do that. And if you don't, then, you're a terrible person too. Like, that's not my place either. But if that was people's reaction to say, oh, I'm going to unfollow the brand, I'm not going to buy anything anymore, they're not wrong for saying that. And you know what's crazy? Baby, Tarte still exists. Tarte still exists. We could go down the list of every makeup, and I feel like most makeup brands have had some sort of like bad PR moment, right? It hasn't been like full scandals like Euphoria or like, Tarte, but I feel like most brands, because no one's perfect, have had some type of slip up. And, from the mega brands to the small indie ones, all of them have had some type, and a lot of them still exist. So also acting like if one scandal is all it takes, you can't bounce back from that one thing, right? So in this instance, if releasing that foundation and the backlash from it is the reason that the company is shutting down, that's not the fault of consumers. That's not the fault of influencers, because like I said, other brands still exist, right? Other people have been able to still continue on and whatnot. That falls back on the owner. That falls back on the PR team, if they have a PR team, because again, cancel culture doesn't exist, and all it takes is the right pocketbook, the right influencers, and you would have been right back in there. That's why some brands, like, they kind of rebrand, right? You could have gone the all May version, right? Could have just said, well, you know what? I tried launching a deeper shade and it didn't work, so let me go ahead and make makeup for America, the real Americans, whatever all May be saying. You didn't try to rebrand or anything like that. Try to see your options, and that's it. That's not influencers. That's not consumers. That's all you. And mind you, reading the closing down message, I'm not sure if it is a, like, we're completely shutting down, or we're gonna, shut down but like regroup and try to come back as something else. Like, maybe we're gonna shut down and, give it a whole new name, because there's also that option as well. Like, maybe they've run the course for Euphoria this way, right? But, shut down for a little bit, give people some more time to forget about it, and then kind of rebrand, give it a different name, change the packaging, but still kind of sell the same type of products. Because before the foundation, I do believe people liked the products that they have, and they have some type of patents on some of their products. So they are different to some of the stuff that's on the market, right? So like, maybe try it that way. Again, the closing message is a little vague, so it doesn't really say anything about what the future of the brand might be, if there is a future for it. So try to put that on influencers, on customers. And mind you, if you look at the comments that are, so sad that the brand is closing down, and, trying to find faults on other people for why the brand is, and I feel like you would have to read the comments to fully understand what I'm saying. But I feel like if you have common sense, you know that there is a certain demographic that they're talking about, right? There's a certain demographic that they are saying, reviewed their products with bias. There's a certain demographic that, didn't give them any grace for their mistakes. There's a certain demographic that are hypocrites. And it's very funny to me because, like I mentioned, everyone jumped on calling them out, right? Even today, when I saw the video talking about the fact that the brand is shutting down, it wasn't a Black person who made the video, and she was flipping them off in the video, announcing that the brand is shutting down. So trying to act like it's a specific demographics fault that they're shutting down. See, that lack of accountability and that lack of putting accountability where it needs to be is why we are in this situation. Because when the situation happened, it's as easy as, you know what? My bad. That's a really bad, my bad. I made a mistake. It was half-assed. I didn't put as much thought into that as the other shades that I did. And I'll be having to have these conversations and kind of separate my morality versus how I know this business works, because I know the fluff that I would have said, right, if I was on the PR team to try to clean this up. But I know it would be fluff, and I know it would be some bullshit, because like, that's not an accident that you make. But I know that there are words that you could have put together in a sentence or in a video to smooth this over enough where people could argue, see, look, the brand, they've heard the feedback, they realize that they were wrong, and they're going to, you know, try to fix this and do better. Would it be some bullshit? Yes. But that's what you need to say to stay in business, right? But nah, y'all wanted to make all these excuses. Y'all wanted to come up with all these defenses, and not just the orders who like the brand, but the brand itself wanted to dodge all kind of accountability. And that's how you'll continue to end up in situations like that. The guy on LinkedIn who was already making excuses on how a brand that has nothing to do with him, a completely different target audience, stuff like that, them making excuses and not taking accountability for why their brand shutting down is why investors won't invest in brands like his, stuff like that. A lack of accountability. That's why you're already making excuses for why, if your brand doesn't make it, this is why. It was somebody else's fault. That is how we will continue to end up in situations like this, because I promise you it's not that hard. Y'all want the support, y'all want the money without the effort. Without, again, because you're not doing anyone a favor here. You're selling them something. You want the support, you want the money without the effort and without the product that is actually worth it to the consumer. So yeah, y'all, that is it for this video. I just want to let you know, about a year-ish later, that is where we are with, I actually wonder when that happened. Let me see. Yeah, see, I couldn't remember it for a minute. Part of me wanted to say it was earlier last year and then mid last year, but the articles I'm seeing are from like May 7th, May 17th of last year. So we are coming up about a year after that situation happened, and here we are. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about this development for Youthforia. Do you think there was any saving them, anything that they could have done to kind of fix this situation? Or did you know from the moment that this situation happened that this is where we would be a year later for them? Let me know all that in the comments down below. Let me know if you think there is any coming back for them. Make sure to thumbs up, comment, subscribe, turn notification bells down below. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.